I had to toughen myself up. No one ever prepares you for that. Nothing can prepare you for what's about to come. Hi, I'm Tulsi and this is my episode of Timeline. I was born in Forest Gate, 1979. My family life was great growing up. I was a very boisterous, happy-go-lucky child. Lots of laughter, lots of love, and lots of community and togetherness. I grew up with my parents, my mum, my dad, and my younger brother who's 6 years younger than me. My earliest childhood memories are pretty much spent in a park, so very different to the graffiti and the crime. But no, parks and farms and lots of nature. A normal day would be me fighting with my mom because I wanted to eat crisp for breakfast. She'd be like, you have to eat like toast or cereal or something. So that's how it would start. And then, go to school, come back, and then spend time with my mum and dad. Meals together, lots of wholesomeness. So leading up to holiday, my parents decided they wanted us to experience real life. Usual things, always at the head teacher's office, always in trouble for doing something in the playground, standing up to some sort of bully. So my dad was like, it's time for you to really actually see real life. And growing up in the 80s, I got all the things that I wanted, which was unheard of because a lot of immigrant parents didn't have a lot of money. I was really, really lucky. So my dad wanted to take us back to India, where he's from originally. He wanted to visit his granddad, who he hadn't seen for 23 years, which will be my great-granddad. And then he decided we're going to do a whole tour of India, so north and south. Wanted to show us what real life was really like, poverty, those who don't have a lot of things. Me and my brother wanted to go Goa, because that's what we saw in the brochures. So back in the days when there was Thomas Cook, we'd go in and be like, palm trees and beaches, and that's what we saw. They knew that we were in for a real treat, right? So we flew out to India on the 6th of February 1990. On this holiday, we initially went to visit my great-granddad in the village. So I guess it was just all the village lifestyle, the farms. And in India, if you haven't ever been, is the animals roam the street, it's not the people on the vehicles. So it was a whole new life. Visiting family members, being introduced to other family members I've never heard of. And then when we got to Mumbai, we visited good family friends. And again, I don't really remember any sights at that precise moment, because I think as soon as we got to Mumbai, I think we stayed a night, maybe two. And that's when my parents decided we're going to Bangalore. February 14th, 1990, my parents are really excited to travel to Bangalore. Me and my brother are anxious because we wanted to go to Goa. And I remember holding on to the railings at the airport going, we don't want to get on, we don't want to get on. Of course, we got onto the plane. I just remember going up the set of stairs to the plane, and it was hot, it was really humid. I just remember fighting with my brother because he got to sit by the window. And I remember literally poking him, going, you always get your way, why can't I sit by the window? All I then hear is my grandmother's voice. Now, I left my grandmother back in the UK 2 weeks prior to this. And I was like, why is she crying? Because my grandma is from that generation, like iron ladies, they don't show emotion. So she's crying and telling me, Tulsi, you've been involved in a plane crash, and that you look different. Mum, Dad and Gumlesh are no more. And then I hear a young medic's voice at the time, a completely foreign voice, it's not familiar at all. Tulsi, don't worry, I'm going to be taking care of you. All the doctors and the nurses are on the airfield attending to casualties, but don't worry, you're going to be fine. I didn't recognize this voice. I didn't even register what he'd actually said. And then the next kind of voice I actually hear now is of another gentleman who's telling me, don't worry, Tulsi, you're safe with me. We're flying back to the UK. You're going to be fine. What does that even mean? Because I have, at this point, have no idea what's happened. Yes, I've been told what's been happened, but it hasn't registered.
At this point, do you still think that you're on the plane?
At this moment, I'm still fighting with my brother. Now my grandparents are on the flight, they've come to surprise us. And that's pretty much what's going on for me, because I can't see at this moment. I'm in and out of sedation. I have no concept of what looking different looks like at this present moment. I have no idea what it's like to have loss. I have no idea at this present moment what's going on. For me, the first time I felt like I wasn't on the plane or now was in hospital was when I was greeted with other family members in Billericay in Essex. So from landing at RAF Northolt, being taken to Billericay in Essex to the burns unit, it's now all my aunties, uncles and cousins who are now pretty much telling me the same information. Initially I thought they're on the plane to surprise me as well, and that we're all going to have this family time in Bangalore. It's only when I hear other nurses and doctors at the unit and I hear their voices every day, I realise, okay, maybe I'm not on the plane now. But it still doesn't register that I'm in the UK. It's when they remove the bandages from my eyes and suddenly I look around and I realise I'm in the UK because it's raining. Outside, it's grey, so yep, back to the UK, realising, okay, I'm not on the plane now, I'm back on UK ground, which felt reassuring, which was like, okay, at least I'm home, but I had no concept what's happened to me. But I think it's about 4 weeks post-accident where they removed the bandages from my eyes, and I'm very keen to see myself because everyone keeps saying I look different. What does looking different actually look like? So in my head, I've always wanted to be blonde. So I thought maybe I've got blonde hair. Maybe that's what's changed. But I look in the mirror and I realise that's not me, because the person looking back was not me. I thought somebody drew that face on, because surely no one could look like that. Because instead of blonde hair, there was no hair. My hair had been shaved. I had red raw scars on my face. I had no eyebrows. I did not have a face. But the person in the mirror blinking and moving their mouth was me. I thought in a year's time there's going to be this magic cloth and it's all going to go away. It's no big deal. It was a big deal, but internally it didn't feel like a big deal. And because I was in hospital, I was in a safe space. Everyone's just treating me as Tulsi. There wasn't treating me as Tulsi the burns survivor or Tulsi the victim. It was just Tulsi. So I thought, that's fine, this is a piece of cake. I've had a series of people break the news to me about my family. Initially my grandmother, and then in the UK it was my auntie and my cousin who I was close to at the time. But anyone that I saw had mentioned, just because your parents aren't here, we're going to take care of you. And I used to think, what do you mean just because my parents aren't here? Because for me, it was always a case of, they've lost their passport, they are coming back. And I held on to that belief for quite a few years anyway. It's more so when I leave hospital, I guess, where the reality sunk in. I went on to stay with my grandparents, my dad's parents. I grew up with them in East London, and it just felt like the logical thing to do. My friends are there, my school's there, and it was a sense of familiarity. So as you can see here, this is literally what I saw in the mirror. No hair, there's no blonde hair, just loads of, red raw scars, and oddly enough, still smiling. I don't know how. Most of my pictures are of me smiling, and it's often people have always commented, how did you smile your way through it? And I've never noticed my smile, but every time I look at these pictures, I can see it. I guess I didn't realise the severity. I was 10 years old at the time when this photo was taken, just a few months short of my 11th birthday, so final year in primary school. I didn't realise what was going to be ahead of me, so maybe that's probably why I'm smiling and just taking it all in. I was in hospital for about 4 months, from the point of after the accident to leaving. I did have a couple of days where I was able to leave the hospital, like day trips. Went to the local parks. I guess it's integrating back into the real world. People staring, but no one said anything at the time. And then I got to visit my primary school, where I got to see some of my friends. Inside, I still felt like Tulsi. So nothing has changed apart from the fact that I look different. Obviously, I had a lot of pain and lots of skin grafts and things like that, but I didn't feel different. So when I went to school, I thought everything's going to be fine. We're going to carry on the conversation about five-a-side football and all the things that I'd left behind, and the latest fashion, and the boy bands that we were into. Except my friends didn't know how to talk to me. They looked nervous. They looked upset. At that time, I didn't see it, of course, that that their friend doesn't look like their friend anymore. As an adult, I can say, of course, it was probably traumatic, or they don't know what to say. So I'm like, it's me, guys, come on, it's Tulsi, like, come on, why are we not talking how we used to? I'm trying to keep it all normal, but realizing nothing is normal. And when I left, I thought, am I going to have any friends after this? So little bit by little bit, it was just daunting to think, what's actually going to happen to me? It's when I leave hospital that I realize that this is where real life is going to start. The name calling, the bullying. So the recovery was overshadowed with how I'm going to deal with real life. So the pain doesn't exist anymore. The scars don't exist anymore. I mean, of course they exist physically, but the mental scars, I had to toughen myself up. No one ever prepares you for that. Nothing can prepare you for what's about to come. I didn't feel different, but suddenly the world made me feel like I was different. Looking different, you're going to experience people judging you. Get used to it. That's not acceptable. I remember a lot of comments or people staring, particularly when I used public transport to get to school, because I had to take a bus. People literally staring at me in disgust, as almost like, ugh. If I wanted to sit somewhere, they'd move as if they're going to catch something, which at that time felt isolating. Whereas today it feels great if somebody does move, because you get the seat to yourself. But if only I knew that then. Yeah, so it was more that, then it was children screaming and shouting, "Oh, you look disgusting, you shouldn't be allowed on the street." These are the kind of things I grew up with on my journey to and from school. So even before I've got to school, this is what I've encountered. So a lot of my journey was very much anxiety and wow, it's reliving this. Yeah, a lot of it was filled with dread and terror. My safe spaces have always been institutions, which sounds really quite surreal. Hospital was safe because I guess, they're always used to seeing people who look different and just treat them as a person. And school has been my safe space. I never experienced bullying there. Home was a safe space, family, friends. But it's the outside world. It's the one where no one prepares you. And my grandparents, although they weren't old at the time, they used to say, we're old, we can't go and get milk. So they'd make me go out into the community, out to the local shops to go and get milk or whatever we needed. And I suppose they were preparing me for what life was about, what I was about to experience. Getting used to being, I guess, not stared at as such, but getting used to what reality was going to be like. But when I'd come home and say, this is what happened, and they'd say, it's part and parcel because you look like this is what, it's okay, just get used to it. Not a great message, but in one hand, it did toughen me up how to deal with life. So this is of me in high school. It was in my first year of high school. And as you can see, the hair grew back, but it's not blonde. But again, you know, smiling. But when I look at this, this Tulsi didn't know what was coming as well, but, you know, confident, but I guess still insecure. So when I talk to my former self, you know, just like my child self, this is the picture that I look up to, because, and I just say to, you know, just, I wish I could tell you now that things are going to be okay, but this is the picture that I use. So partly confident, but you can see so much vulnerability in this. I applied for a job in a hotel in London, and initially I applied for a job as front of house, and they said, "Dear Miss Vagjani, your face does not fit our company. Unfortunately, you haven't got the position." And at which point I didn't read anything into it, and it's only when I read it again and realised your face does not fit our company. And it's like, and I could feel this all adding to, I call it my depression pile, but it's like every incident was just adding more and more to this pile. This was a really big factor because everyone around me is getting a job. Whatever they wanted to buy for themselves, they could because they had the money. So from the age of 14 to about 17, I dabbled in drugs and alcohol. But at the end of those, because I didn't get any answers, I didn't feel fulfilled, I turned to food. And it's easy to turn to food because growing up in a South Asian community where food is in abundance and hospitality and entertaining, having that extra plateful, mouthful went unnoticed. But obviously the weight was piling on. Everyone around me was already telling me I was fat, I was ugly anyway, so that was pretty much my norm. But it's when one friend who at that time I was I was in the middle of doing my health and social care course just before my psychology degree, where a friend of mine said, "Tulsi, I'm really concerned about your health." That's when things changed. Because when she said, "I'm concerned about your health," it wasn't about the weight, it was about my health. And I said, "I want to do something about it." The best thing she could say to me was join the gym, which I did. And as I was working out, not the weight was falling off, but I was starting to feel good about myself. Now with depression, it's not a case of, okay, I went to the gym and the weight was falling off and the depression went. No. But the depression just started to ease off a little bit. The anxiety eased off just slightly. I was at a decent size by the year 2003. I came down to a size 16. But what I didn't realise, life was about to take another turn. It's there that I joined another gym, and I was doing Pilates on a regular basis, but the weight now wasn't shifting and I was feeling really, really tired, which didn't make sense. I also enrolled on another degree and I'm specialising in Pilates and therapeutic massage, so that was really exciting. And not feeling well, I went to my GP, usual blood test, blood pressure and all the checks that they do. Within 4 days my results came back, which we know is quite unusual, usually takes about 2 weeks. And my GP said, "Look, Tulsi, I don't want to alarm you, but we do need to get you to the A&E ASAP." And I was like, "Well, that is quite alarming." He goes, No. It's just I've got friends in A&E who'll be able to see you over so you don't have to wait too long. And you can see the grave look on his face, but he didn't really give that away. I was going to be told 24 hours later that I had end-stage renal failure, at which point all I heard was, "You are dying." That's what I heard. My auntie was with me at the time, and she said, "No, Tulsi, look, calm down. Listen to what he's actually saying." So he went on to say, "You can go on dialysis and eventually have a kidney transplant. There are options." And I'm in the middle of doing my degree, which I'm absolutely loving. I said, "That's fine, don't worry. I want to get back to doing my degree. We'll deal with this later." He goes, "No, you don't realise the severity of this. We need to treat you." Suddenly, I parked everything with my burns, and now it's about surviving. dialysis in one hand, degree in another. How am I going to do this? So I'd put my laptop and my books and everything on my bed, set myself up on the machine at night. Every night I was dialysing, and I did that for 3 years. And in that time I graduated. I was 1% short of a first, so I got a 2-1. I was so elated. That's the one thing I've celebrated. Things that I've accomplished. And I haven't celebrated that, but I've celebrated this degree. And my degree wasn't what I celebrated. It's the fact that I did it because I was on dialysis with all the things that were sent to test me, and I passed those tests. And then a month after that, I get a phone call to say, there's a kidney waiting for you. It was great. The transplant was great, but then I was sick. So the whole of 2009, I was pretty much in hospital. Anything and everything that could go wrong was going wrong. I had my last rites read whilst I was there because I didn't know I was going to make it. I had no white blood cells. What they didn't realise was I was reacting to one of the medications. They changed the medication, and as I left hospital, at that point I thought I was great on dialysis, there was no problem, but what's going to come of me now? Because I've lost all my confidence again. Now it's back to my burns again. Now suddenly starting to feel insecure. So not only am I battling my health, but it's now my burns again because I'm trying to apply for jobs again, and it's the rejection. It's 2011, and I see a program on Katie Piper and Friends. I thought, wow, what a beautiful woman. She's also got burns, but she's out there doing remarkable things. And then at the end of the program, there was information about her charity, at which point I thought, oh, let me contact them. Let me offer my services, not a case of what can they do for me, but what can I do with them. And they got back to me and said, look, we've got these pamper days. It'd be great for you to come and meet the rest of the team. And I did, and I got to meet Katie. And she was just so friendly, so warm. And it was almost as if like we've known each other for years. And I thought, how lovely and reassuring. And for the first time, seeing someone incredible with burns out there in the media was everything. And this is when I realised representation really matters. I went on to do some amazing things with the charity. They supported me in so many amazing ways. I had hair restoration, medical tattooing, and laser treatment for my scars, which I still have today, which has helped my scar journey in the most profound ways. My confidence has grown tenfold. And I remember sharing my story for the first time, literally shaking, but also to the point thinking, who wants to even hear about my story? So what if you've been involved in an accident? So what if you've lost your family and sustained scars? Like, who wants to even hear about this? But not realizing people did want to hear about it. Not just that, but how I got through that. I now don't sit here worrying about my scars. I now don't sit here knowing that my scars are my limitation anymore. And I also realize that this is not a me problem, it's a they problem. Whereas that's not what it was like before. I am my own version of beautiful. I'm not anyone else's. So I'm not in competition with anyone. There are tough things that are going to happen to you. Life is going to challenge you. And yeah, there's going to be times when it just feels, I can't take it anymore, it's just enough is enough. But just know, hang in there, don't give up. Take a break, but don't give up. That's one thing. And whatever you're going through, life is teaching you something in that moment. And remember all the amazing things that you have survived so far. Use that energy and strength and remind yourself why you're here and that you've got a bigger purpose. Be kind, be compassionate, you're going to be fine. What I'd say to my 11-year-old Tulsi is, yes, life is going to be challenging, and yes, you don't know what's going to come, but one thing you just do know is you are going to be okay. There will be somebody who looks like you out there. Keep that goal, keep that vision, and just remember that inner grit determination, and the girl from East London, she's going to be representing and out there, and nothing's going to stop her. So don't forget, really believe in yourself. And I am really hot on representation because I don't want my 10-year-old Tulsi to open a magazine and ever feel she wasn't good enough. And that's why I do what I do.